There's got to be more than going back and forth.
Tiny obediences every day, every day, every day. They're a little bit painful, but nothing major. And so what I think is once God was able to trust me with the tiny things, He's able to reveal to me the large things. And I think that's what He's waiting for you to do.
Then like a hero takes the stage when we're on the edge of our seat saying it's too late. Well, let me introduce you to amazing grace.
That's my invitation to you today to discover your life's purpose. Is just forget about some grand, divine, skies opening and here it is, or even like an aha moment someday. I don't know that that can happen if it happens, but I don't think that's generally, because if it did, if that's the way it happens, so many people would be living the life of their dreams.
How deep the wound is, no matter the pain, still.
Welcome to the stage, Megan Eggleston and Christine Dwyer.
We don't want our cups on our coffee table. Our Ellen set. All right, so I'm super pumped to have Megan here. She was a speaker on the panel last year as well, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, and Megan, we got to share a little bit of her story. This is a little weird to speak this way, I guess, right? We got to share a little bit of her story. So I pulled up an email because I met Megan in September 2011. She was registering for a TurboKick certification that we were doing. And how far along pregnant were you?
At the time of the certification, I was 6 months.
6 months.
It was turbo and pyo, back 2 days of...
Oh, that whole weekend. So that was tough. Meredith knows for sure. But you always got that question when someone who's pregnant says, hey, can I do this? And we as the presenters are like, yes, you can. You definitely can. So that was the first time that her and I really spoke. We're both lived in Rochester, New York.
Yep.
And we didn't teach at the same gym.
No.
She taught at the Rich Gym. And I couldn't get a job there. And so I was a presenter for there. And that's where I first met her. You weren't a coach and you weren't using any of the products at that time, right?
No, not at that time. I had only learned about those formats because I had done a hip hop hustle training like years ago. So I had somehow gotten on some kind of email list where I thought, well, Turbo Kick, Turbo Fire, that stuff, I was familiar. So that's my only knowledge of any of that at that time.
Okay. So then when you came to the certifications, you were just really going for the certification so you could teach the formats, knew nothing about it, but then she saw in the window, Shakeology.
Yeah,
the gym owner.
Yeah, she had Shakeology in the like a glass case. She was retailing it out of her gym. So it was on my radar, but I didn't know, I wasn't interested in it then, but it kind of caught my eye, and then I came back to it after my baby.
Yeah, so tell us about that. So you had your baby, then why did you think of it?
Sure. So I ended up having my baby 3 months later and having a hard time with postpartum depression and 2 toddler boys, nursing this baby around the clock. So my nutrition started to struggle. Even being a fitness person, it just happens. So I remembered that Shakeology product. Well, actually, I think it just flashed across my news feed. And I remembered it, so I reached out to the girl who said she was offering some kind of promotion on it, and I figured I'd give it a try and give my money back guarantee. I'll see how it goes. And I ended up signing up for the discount right there from the gym owner.
Mm-hmm. And from that point, did you immediately get going in coaching? You're like, I know there's money in this thing.
No,
What'd you do?
No, I was absolutely opposed to coaching.
Why?
Well, because at that point, I think I'd started to get what it was, and I knew who you were, and I knew that you were a coach. Eventually, it somehow started to make sense, how all the pieces connected.
But she didn't choose me.
Because I had no intention to be a coach. I really just wanted this product. And when I looked at what I knew of coaching, which wasn't much, was, Christine. She was 5 years and very successful, very confident and poised and charismatic and bold and just this personality that's larger than life. And yes. I was so not that, I very shy, introverted, meek, mild-mannered, self-conscious personality. And so that just did not seem like something that would make sense for me. I thought it was great that people could do that, but I was just going to enjoy my discount. And I did for a good 12 months.
Then what changed?
Well, I stalked a little bit coaches. I stalked coaches on social media, and I would tool around in my back office a little bit just to kind of see like what that was all about. And then I started to see that there were different personalities, and I didn't have to be big and bold and super charismatic to help people. And that's what I really was attracted to, was this sounded like a really neat way for me as a mom home with babies to provide some value outside of just being a receptacle for carrying and feeding babies, which is what it felt like forever.
Yes.
And so it was like, this is a really neat way that I get to share my love of fitness and provide value outside the home. And I had no intention for it to grow into like a business. It was just something to fulfill me at that time in my life.
Now, the reason why Megan is speaking is because she's a superstar diamond coach, and her coach does not do this business. And the coach above her does not do this business. And the coach above her does not do this business. So this is a girl who, have you heard this story before? My coach doesn't mentor me or train me, or I don't like them, but how do I do this business? Does anyone hear that? This is her. She's an orphaned person trying to figure out what to do with a business where she's now decided to do, but she has no direct support and knowledge of where to go. So how can someone who has that same reason why you can't be a success in this business then turn into a 15-star diamond coach, elite coach as well? This is the reason why we needed to feature her, because this is the tried and true, like, standard coach story of example of possibility, and that you have to own yourself to be able to make that change. And that's why I really wanted to feature her. Now, because we're not directly connected, I tried to do as much as I could with staying in touch with her because of knowing you. But give some example of when you started to do this. Was it because you were dirt poor? Did you need something to save you? Like, what was the reason that you were motivated to at least go forward?
Yeah, no, there was no, like I said, I had no interest in like building a business. I really just wanted that fulfillment. We were comfortable. I was staying at home. I was able to stay home. I totally expected to go back to work. I was an academic advisor at a university prior. I mean, I didn't know that if I was going to go back to that or not, but I had still tens and tens of thousands of dollars in student loans from the 6 years of college I'd had. So I totally expected that, once, this was going to be my hobby. This will be a fun little thing for me to, like, while I'm at home, just to kind of fulfill me on the side. So I didn't need to make money. I didn't need to be successful, but I really did need to get out of the shell of fear that I was living in. I was a very self-conscious person, a people pleaser, really concerned with what people thought about me, didn't want to be judged. And so I knew that I was going to have to step out of that a little bit. I mean, maybe I didn't have to be like Christine, but I was going to have to get over myself a little bit. And so I saw this as an opportunity to do that in a way that I was making an impact. It was for a purpose. It was the purpose of it, which was what I really needed at that time. And I knew that it was time that I grew. I started so many things and stopped so many things because I'm that perfectionist person who, if I'm not going to be great at it, I'm going to stop it. Or
give us some examples. Like, what did you start with other businesses? Okay. You said, right?
Yeah. So I've never actually listed the laundry list of things that I've tried or I've started, but I mean, it does go back as far as high school, starting volleyball. I loved volleyball, but I was terrible, so I didn't want to be judged, so I just quit the team, which is so silly now. I was a dancer growing up. I had years and years of dance training, but all my girlfriends after college would go live in New York City and try to make it, and I was envious of them because they actually took that initiative, and they didn't really succeed at it necessarily, but I was so jealous that I didn't even make that effort. I then went on to, after I had my first baby, I started nursing school. I already had 2 degrees, but I had free tuition at the university my husband was working at, so I started nursing clinicals. I went right into a BSN. I was going to be a nurse. Well, I decided that wasn't going to work out. So I went on to become a lactation consultant. I became really passionate about breastfeeding advocacy because my lactation consultant was amazing for me. So I went down the road of that. And then stopped.
So you're basically in all that pattern.
And then another one, childbirth education. I went down so many different, then I stopped just short. And this was the time I realized, it's just time. It's just time for me to outgrow some of these fears.
Time for you to feel like your bringing something forward out of yourself, like you're making an impact.
I knew that I had more potential, but I just wasn't pulling it out of myself. And so this was the time I was going to, and I just took baby steps. I wasn't, like I said, trying to make an income or make a name for myself. I really just wanted to prove to myself that I could grow, that I could be better than what I was allowing myself to be. So those were the steps that I was taking little by little. I didn't know where it would take me. I just knew that I was looking a little bit ahead of me every time, and what do I need to do? What needs to change in me for me to move forward a little bit?
Mm-hmm. And since you weren't motivated for money, which a lot of times when coaches are working to really build the business and they look at their weekly check every week to see, am I being successful in this yet? And when it's not growing at the pace that they think, they get that negativity or that thought of, I don't know if this is for me. So you didn't have that because you said you weren't doing it for money.
Right.
So did you have thoughts of doubt, negativity, or I shouldn't be doing this?
No, because I was 100% fulfilled by what was changing inside of me to get to that next step. And then money would grow slowly. I mean, it was happening. It wasn't like, the work I was putting out was not reflective. We know that if you were to pay it out hourly, it was not reflecting that in the beginning for sure. But I was just so motivated by improving myself that it didn't matter where it was going to go. I was a better person, and how could that be bad? Why would I ever quit just because the money's not showing up or the ranks aren't showing up? Because if I'm improving as a person, how can that be wrong?
Exactly. Well, that's the other point is when someone decides if they are going to continue with their journey and then they remove this off of their plate, I always am puzzled by that because I look at, so now they have nothing really to focus on every day to think of, I should be doing personal development or I should be choosing healthier foods because they've removed an obligation or responsibility off their plate, but this kept you on that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right, so moving forward then, what we want to really dig into is some of how you were able to really grow yourself and also your team.
Yep.
And you also made a motion of it that you were constantly working on improving yourself because you needed to for them.
Right.
So what were some of the first steps that you dug into because you don't have a coach?
Yeah, I will say this. I truly believe that my lack of immediate, strong mentorship is probably one of the reasons I'm as successful as I've become. I don't know where I'd be, but I really believe that I could have been crippled by it, and I think a lot of people are. I think they allow themselves to be crippled by having such access to immediate resources. So I 100% believe that I would have been the person to stall. I would have been the person to make excuses. Because it's there when I'm ready, right? It's there, the resources are available. They're gonna be whenever, I can make all kinds of excuses and validate them because I know that it's right there whenever I'm ready, whenever that is, right? And I knew I was never gonna be ready. So one or two things probably would have happened. I would have been that person, or I would have achieved to just enough of a level to have Mama Bear or whoever that, leader be proud of me. Because again, that Megan from 3 years ago was very much a people pleaser, and especially authority or a leader like mama. So I think I might have even, being an achievement-oriented person, might have even done well enough to get some pats on the back and to say, hey, good job, you're doing this. That's probably as far as I would have gone. I wouldn't have been in constant pursuit of resources and training. I think right now, I can see myself being that person who's waited for the next team call, waited for the next push group, waited for someone to guide me along. Okay, this is next. But I had to be in constant pursuit of information, training, and resources. I had to make my own mistakes, and even though I could take your systems, because eventually I found out that, there's this platinumpresenters.com site that has training and calls. I'm like, where has that been all my life? So I would just seriously listen to these podcasts or these videos in earbuds while I'm nursing a baby. So they exist for us, but I didn't have that immediate feedback from somebody to tell me if I'm doing it right or what's the next step. So I had to just kind of grow up a lot, make a lot of mistakes, spin my wheels.
Well, something we talked about was that you plugged into a system.
Right.
Because you can get really scattered because there's a billion systems out there and there's a lot of top achieving coaches who are promoting, we've got the magic new coach getting started system. We've got the magic. So you can easily get distracted into all those shiny things, trying to find the green grass.
Right.
But that's not effective, so you focused on one system.
Right. I took a system and I owned it, you
Okay.
know, as best I could. And, you know, I think that's what allowed me to, you know, grow my own team. Like, I knew it was your, you know, training, but I would just put it out there like, I got this, and here's what we're doing, team. Like,
Yeah.
team of 2 that actually are doing something. You know, every time
Yeah.
I just kind of pretended like we were, you know, we're there. We're totally diamond team,
Yeah.
you know, when we weren't. But I totally, like, held that posture and acted like, well, if a diamond coach or beyond created it, then I'm going to act like I have that going on. And that's kind of how I've always moved forward.
Yeah.
is
Well,
using
you
those
did
resources.
plug into my business bootcamp
Yes.
program, the 30-day program, and that was more in the beginning phases of you working to start to grow.
Yes.
Right? So kind of give an experience of why did plugging into a system where you were held accountable for 30 days, how did that help?
Yes, I was, I don't know, I had maybe 4 coaches or so when I had started Christine's boot camp. It was the first time I'd had somebody like keeping me accountable. And I'm not gonna lie, like I cried. I literally cried because she told us to pick up the phone and call somebody. And not just anybody, like you're 10. Like you're 10, and like I wanted to quit right there. I was like sick to my stomach to think of like picking up a phone and calling my 10. And the funny thing is, I look back at those 10s, and I'm like, what was I thinking? And it's more that like
Why is that important? Why should someone call someone? Why can't you just rely on your fingertips to constantly build this business?
You know, it really just showed me people aren't as scary as they seem, and I can now really talk to anybody and not be afraid, no matter if I'm talking to them on the phone or you know on the computer. Like that activity did so much for my confidence. It did so much for me just to realize, you know, I'm not going to die. I'm gonna get through this. I'm going to work through this. So those different activities really helped me to grow in confidence and realize that, you know, this isn't as impossible as I make it out to be.
Yeah. As you were growing, I knew that at one point she was working to become a master trainer for Powder Blue. She really wanted to be a master trainer, and then that transition of Powder Blue selling over to Beachbody. And so her and I were in discussions about that because, of course, that was where I was coming from. But that changed your thought of, I'm not going to work towards that goal because that's not the focus of where I want to be.
Right.
That's short term. So why did you feel that that was important to give up on going that direction?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of it because it was another thing that I could see helping me grow as a person because I'm not the bubbly, bold, you know, so I thought that's why it really appealed to me, and I love group fitness and I love leading classes. But once this was starting to like take off a little more and I was just enjoying it so much, I realized that the lifestyle that was gonna lead me to wasn't really conducive to what I wanted. I had young children, and I knew that, you know, those weekends, you know, of events, you know, frequently, it just wasn't going to be something that would be suitable for, you know, where I wanted to go with my family. And them being young, and my husband working, he works, you know, a tough job where he's only home late evenings and weekends. So I just didn't want to take that from my family.
Well, I could speak from experience with that. That's obviously what you have to do. But you also had said before that you weren't driving to build your business for rank. Like, you're not a seeker of recognition and rank. And sometimes people choosing to be a master trainer will choose that because of that notoriety, that you actually grow your business easier because you're in front of all these people who are standing there listening to you at a certification, and they'll all sign up from you or with you. But who are these people that attend the certifications?
Yeah, they're all coaches, and then I've gone to all these certifications because I get certified in just about everything I possibly can, and they're all already coaches anyway.
And then when there's that one random that's not, it's like Shark Tank for reals up in there.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, hi, here's my Shakeology, here's
gosh.
my business card. And I know from myself and experience, we stood from a position we didn't promote it when we were doing certifications. But that was a path that you said, it's not lining up with my direction. I see a bigger picture where what I can do with people and developing people professionally to build a team, as opposed to spending your weekends away from your kids, packing boxes and going to do a training, and that wasn't a priority to you.
No, I mean, as I was seeing what I was beginning to be more capable of, and you know, growing in confidence, growing in an ability to reach people, I wanted to see more people like me who kind of find themselves also, you know, siding with that introvert type, shy, self-conscious types. I wanted to see them find that inside of them. Like I know there's so many people out there who have a lot to offer, but they're just so afraid.
Yeah.
So I really got excited about like seeing some of my coaches I got so addicted to like growing as a leader so that I could help them feel that same sense of fulfillment and happiness that I got from it. So that became more my mission than anything.
All right, let's get to the juicy stuff, because they all want to know, well, where'd you get your coaches from? How did you sponsor? So were you just aggressively crushing your classes at the gym saying, everybody come to me and sign up? How did you get people to sign up with you?
Yeah, that doesn't work because the club doesn't like that, first of all. So I definitely wasn't passing out Shakeology packets at the fancy ritzy club. But my best coaches have been those people that I just like a lot. You know, my challengers, obviously, but those people, I just found people that I like, that I want to hang out with, that are cool, that are just fun, and I could just chill with those girls. Like, I would just hang out with them and just enjoy them. And because I've sponsored the so-called rock stars.
But where were those people from? Where'd you get these challengers
they
from?
generally came from, my challenge groups.
Yeah, but how would you get them in there?
I met them at
Challenge
sorry.
group, here you go.
Yeah.
All these people for you.
My mother's group, my mom's group. I was in several moms groups through the years. So a lot of moms groups. I did actually have some people from the gym they'd find me online after the fact. It became through social media eventually, but mostly it was just like the places I was going, the gym and my mom's groups, which I didn't go very many places, but it was mostly that in the beginning.
How did it come up then? If you're going to your mom's group and you now know, I've got a business that I want to promote to them.
If you just talk to anybody about their life, they're going to start to share their challenges and struggles.
So you just talk to them like a normal person?
Like a normal person.
That's
Imagine
weird.
that.
No.
Yeah, and they start to
you're
share.
Supposed to be a Beachbody
right.
robot.
And especially if I say that I enjoy working out, or I'm going to do a workout after this. I should be working out. I've been meaning to do that. I've been wanting. So if you can lead a conversation there pretty easily, because that's your lifestyle. If that's truly your lifestyle, you're not just faking this whole thing for a living. Then it's natural. It really is.
Yeah. If you naturally are interested in people,
right,
if you just want to have a conversation to find out about that person and find the common ground, rather than have a conversation with someone where your intention is, I need to invite them to a challenge group.
How do I get this from point A to point B?
Yeah. So you just did that a ton. Because you said you're shy.
Yeah.
So why did you go and start talking to a ton of people?
I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to grow a little bit more. I wanted to be able to reach people.
Yeah.
So I would just open up myself for more conversations. And I realized, because I used to be like the person who oh my gosh, small talk is so fake. Don't take me to another one of these events. My husband works in fundraising, and so he'd have all these events, and I had to be on his arm with a pretty dress. And it was all small talk, and it was just I hated it because I thought it was so forced and fake.
Yeah.
But what I really think that was a lot of insecurity in myself, and I realized when I started to actually talk to people, they actually are interesting, and they actually do care. It's not fake if you really do show real interest in them, and then it's not so forced and superficial. It's real if you're real.
So you really were speaking to people in your warm market, so the people that you were having normal conversations with, family, friends, and then the people that would cross your path. That was a strong focus for the foundation then of your business, like your beginning diamond?
Right, correct. Yep.
Then where did you continue to find a lot of people to come in?
I started to use social media,
okay.
More, really trying to be myself, stopped being universally appealing, because that was really easy as a people pleaser. I didn't want to offend anybody, make anybody think I was weird or this or that. So I was, I had to stop being universally appealing and just be me and just be vulnerable and be as real as possible. And that has been the number one thing that has drawn the right people to me on social media, is just being 100% me, flaws and all.
Well, what is that? What kind of a post would you be putting up that would draw people towards you?
Oh, sure. I'll share my issues with anxiety that I had in the past. I couldn't believe it, but I actually posted selfies without makeup. I'd share my inadequacies as a parent, as a mom, because I knew other moms were at home sitting there watching all the perfect moms and feeling, sorry for themselves. I was like, no, don't feel sorry for yourself, because I just, did this.
Yeah.
So I was just sharing all the, the good and the bad, all the inadequacies that I have, and I would share how I overcame those inadequacies and how I'm still overcoming them and what they still are.
Well, you can't grow a 15-star business just by putting up great, amazing, no makeup content and running into someone at the grocery store. So what is the type of activity that you'll do that you'll go and reach out to people? So how do you effectively sponsor, especially online?
I really don't do a lot of recruiting ads. I put them out there, and they're somewhat effective, I think it more just tells people that's what I do.
Yeah.
And I actually get the best response later. I think I'm just kind of planting a seed, this is what I do. And so when they're, ready and they end up in a challenge group, then they already know that I'm the person to go to. So I really just put out the ads like that just to kind of plant seeds. And then when I have these people in challenge groups is when I really start to identify those who I really think would benefit from the value of what we do.
Right. Now, with you growing your business, because this was really the meat of where we wanted to talk about with you, is I know for myself, it's frustrating because I'll sign on a supposed going to be a rock star or someone who is just amazingly with energy and their drive, and they do great for a month. They achieve Emerald and Success Club in the first month, and then they disappear. And then for myself, I know that when I see that reoccurring again, for me, it's a little chip away because it's like, I just gave so much energy and this person just fell off the face of the earth again. Yeah. And I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel with trying to identify the people that are going to go the road with me, to see that vision, to stay consistent with that activity. So me as a leader having that struggle with constantly getting chipped away, that exhausting burnout of trying to help develop someone into being amazing is crushing. So what do you do then to develop people, and how do you kind of handle them so you're not burning out, but also moving them forward?
Right, and I mean, that's a good question. I still get those people, those supposed rock stars who start off strong and then they, flop. But I think what is most important for me when I start working with a new coach is that I know that they're gonna start my systems, even if they're like failing at them, even if they're struggling. And I have to decide who to work with, but those who are going to just kind of keep giving me excuses, or those who are going to actually attempt the systems and actually move forward with them, even if they're struggling. So that's how I identify who to groom and lead. If they're going to take some initiative and not just kind of wait for me to do this, I know that they're never going to go very far if they're going to keep waiting for that. So that's how I decide who to invest time with, because I've been there. I've tried to save everybody, and especially when you put it out there that you're the person who's overcome, terrible shyness and anxiety. All those people are like, save me, save me. How do I do it? How do I do it? And, only if you're willing to put a little, uncomfortable work can you really do that. So those who I see making the efforts towards doing something a little bit painful, can I really continue to invest in and not completely exhaust myself and drain myself?
Well, when we were talking, you gave them an out. So you talked about your getting started call and how you're identifying their fear. And from that, you set them up with the next step option. But then as you're working with them and keeping track of, are they moving forward, you then give them an out. So explain that little bit of process of the getting started to the out.
Sure. So on my getting started right call, I want to find out what's their biggest fear, what's they feel like is going to hold them back from having success, or could, what is their biggest fear? And I try to focus on that as their first step, what kind of steps can we make towards that before absolutely go for the tactical things like Success Club and Emerald and all that good stuff, but really, I want to know that that's what they're going to be focusing on conquering. And if that's not, and we help set up baby step goals for that. If that's not happening, I'm going to come back and try to help you out. But if it's not happening ultimately, then I have said to coaches, hey, let me know if, you want to do this right now. It's totally okay if you don't, but I kind of make the message, this train's going, and I did this even as a coach who had not many coaches who are working. This train's going, whether you're gonna hop on or not, but I'd love to pick you up here. But I kind of gave them an opportunity to say yes or no, because I'm continuing to go. So it kind of gave them the opportunity to say, no, I really want this, or no, I'm just not going to. And so I kind of have to do that now to know who to continue to invest my time with, but also let them know I'm not desperate for you. I don't need you. Christine has this excellent call. Probably most of you've heard it. Her call, I don't need you. And I think it's mostly talking towards inviting people to the business, or just inviting in general. But I use it in the mindset of working with coaches. I don't want them to think that I need them to be successful. And we can get desperate sometimes,
Yeah.
with, I need you to be diamond
Like,
so that
not
I can hit
active.
my goals.
Yeah.
It happens. So I don't want them to ever feel like, I'm desperate for your success. This is up to you if you want this. So I try to have that posture of, I don't need you to be successful. You need you to be successful.
Right.
But I'd love to help you if you're ready for this. If not, I'm still going to help the next person. So I think that has helped me to recognize who's actually in this and who really is just posing.
Right. So you have a system that you want to share
Yeah.
that will walk people through, because as I expressed to you, my problem always is fighting the burnout, because I'm human too, and going through that roller coaster of that constant feeling of wanting to help someone become successful, because ultimately that's my goal of why I'm doing this business. I'm not doing it for let's make more money, let me get another title. I'm really wanting to help people establish success in their life. But when you invest so much of yourself emotionally and time with someone, and then that doesn't happen, it hurts inside for you, because you feel kind of sorry, sad for them, because you know the potential of where it could go. So with having a burnout, and really identifying people of how to grow them, you follow a structured system that you're going to share with them of how to do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I am going to lead the stage. She's going to stand and finish teaching her 5 points, but that was awesome, so keep it up.
All right.
Keep going. I'll sneak out the back.
Sorry. I think there's going to be a slide up here, but I followed some portion of this process ever since the beginning, and I've only really outlined what it really looks like, from examples of new coaches to more advanced, more established coaches. But essentially, I think what happens with those coaches who do fall off the wagon, fall off the face of the earth when you think that they're really excited, is they're just so overwhelmed by all the success they see around them. It's really easy to be inspired at these events, and within your own network, you have immediate access to all the people who are super successful and doing better than you. So I think we get overwhelmed by that, and then we see how much farther we had to go than what we had to do in front of us. So I thought I had a graphic. I'll just go with it. But I use the acronym GROWTH, GROWTH, to kind of map out a baby step system to always have like unstoppable growth. Like you're continuing to grow at all times, whether it's measured by metrics or not. But we start with G, and that's get real about what is the most immediate thing that's standing in your way of forward movement. I mean, you're going to be constantly aware of all the things you have to do to grow, all the areas that you need to grow in. You're always going to be, in this company, you're always going to see others at a different pace than you. But you need to get real about like that curb that's there and not just be so focused on this exciting road ahead with all its winding curves. You have a curb that you got to get over. And if that's a new coach, for me, like I was the social media, like I was so afraid of social media, putting my face out there, putting a selfie up there. So I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of failure. So for me, that was it. That was that one curb that I needed to get over. I couldn't worry about like power hours. I had a curb of just posting. As a more established coach, when I wanted to really kind of get more people in my challenge groups and I knew I needed to grow and network, it was building a warm market. How was I going to get people interested in what I did? That was my little curb, was I needed to overcome that before I worried about how to do advanced power editor on Facebook ads. That was something I couldn't even think about. It was that little curb ahead of me. So you got to get real about that one thing is. Here's what it's not, I'll say, is it's not just confidence. So if that's what, a lot of people will say, it's not confidence. Confidence in what? It has to be something with action attached to it, because action is what actually creates the confidence. So don't just say confidence. Confidence in inviting, confidence in social media, whatever it is, it has to be confidence in something, because there has to be an action that's attached to it. So R is to reach just a little outside your comfort zone. Just a little stretch, something that is not so overwhelming that you probably will, fizzle and then excuse yourself because it was never really realistic anyway, but something that is just a stretch enough to make you uncomfortable, a little bit pained, but not so outrageous. For me, as that new coach, it was 30 days of posting on social media for 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 times a day. Just that was enough to just terrify me, but it was just enough. As that newer coach, or that more established coach, I wanted to take 3 months to grow my warm market. So this has to be really short term. This has to be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, depending on what it is. But for me, 30 days using social media in a way that was effective. For me, growing my warm market, 3 months is what I gave myself of using a system of free groups. So it was just enough to not get me too overwhelmed about Success Club Legend or anything like that. That's all I was looking at, okay, for R. Own a system, like we were talking about. Own a system, not find the perfect system, not try a system and then when it starts to not work because you've tweaked it too much, decide this isn't going to be good for you. Own something as if it's your own for that period of time, whatever it is, just own it and commit to that 30-day, 60-day, 90-day process. And then W, after you've owned it for that short period of time, this is where you get to assess what happened. What happened? Did you change? Did you grow? Did your business grow? Did it work? Did you work it enough for it to work? Was it realistic? Was it really, did you stretch too far? Did you need to reassess what that goal is going to be? Do you have a new starting point now? A new curb? That's where it's really important right here to also decide where you've grown inside, because T is where you take time to celebrate and acknowledge that, because I think that's where we mostly get, or most people skip this. And I think I did for a while because I am the achievement type. I want to hit marks to know that I'm doing something. When I started to really take time to acknowledge what was changing in me, not did I get from point A to point B, but who did I become from point A to point B, was when I really started to be addicted to the satisfaction of growth. And so there's no reason to ever think that I'm not growing fast enough, because I knew that I was always moving forward, whether the metrics or the marks reveal that or not. And I think that's why you have these super successful coaches who've made crazy million club and beyond and superstar multiple times. I don't think they need more success. I think they are addicted to the growth, like we're talking about. And last, just you put your head down and you do it again. You put your head down, it's going to be easy to be distracted by people who are doing it faster, doing it better. But you put your head down, you find that new curb, and you repeat it. So this is basically the system that I've used over the past few years. It works for every step of the way. You can always create another tiny reach, a tiny stretch goal to create unstoppable growth. So that's all I have. Thank you.